Servus and greetings from Vienna. My name is Anita Posch. Thank you for listening to Bitcoin & Co., my podcast that's introducing the philosophy, ideas and people behind Bitcoin. Before we start, a message from my sponsors. The card wallet is the ideal solution to store your Bitcoin keys in the medium and long run. No software updates needed, it's 100% offline, it leaves no traces on the blockchain if you give it away as a gift or inheritance. With the card wallet, you'll get one Bitcoin address, you can send Bitcoin to it whenever you wish, and all you have to do is to store it in a safe place. That's it. The manufacturers are the Austrian State Printing House, who is also the producer of Austria's passports, and Coinfinity, Austria's first Bitcoin broker. Order your card wallet at cardwallet.com/Anita and get 20% off. Hello people, I'm still in Vienna. Tomorrow I'm flying off to Zimbabwe. And when you're hearing this episode, it's the last episode before I will publish the audio documentary from my Africa journey. So I was talking to Connie Gallippi, the founder of BitGive, a non-profit that's existing since 2013. And we were talking about her work in underdeveloped countries, in Venezuela and in Kenya. And she also knows Alakanani Iterileng from the Satoshi Center in Botswana that I will visit. I hope you have some new insights as I had, and I think Bitcoin and blockchains are really a great technology to have more transparency, to see where the funds go. And listen to Connie. So hello, Connie. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview. You are the founder and executive director of the BitGive Foundation. Please introduce yourself as a start.
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show here. And so, yes, I'm the founder and executive director of BitGive. And we are a nonprofit that focuses on the nonprofit space and philanthropic use cases for Bitcoin and blockchain technology. We were the first official nonprofit established back in 2013. So we've been at this for a while now.
How did you even get into Bitcoin? When did you hear about it the first time?
Wow, that's a great question. I was trying to remember how long ago it was. I think it was probably in 2011, potentially even earlier. My brother was the co-founder of one of the earliest Bitcoin companies. So I heard about the technology in its earliest days, really, before anything had really started to come of it from a community or an industry standpoint.
How did you get interested in it? What made it make click? Which kind of properties does Bitcoin and open blockchains have that you are interested in the most?
Well, initially, it wasn't even, the term blockchain wasn't even really used, right? And so initially, it was just really fascinating to me that you could reach someone in like the most remote areas in developing countries and provide them with a resource, with funding, money. And the potential and the possibilities almost seemed like magical at that time. It was very inspiring, and it was very clear to me that it would change everything. And so now, obviously many years have gone by and a lot has happened with the technology and the industry itself. There's all kinds of other coins and blockchains and use cases, and it's evolved a lot. There's lots of interesting features and benefits to the technology as we've all learned more and more about it over the years. And I think now what's most interesting to me is still focusing on Bitcoin, and that it truly is a decentralized, consensus-based, and public open ledger. and that we really have no idea who created it. There's no one in charge. There's no one in control. And to me, that means it's truly immutable, right? It offers real transparency and real accountability because of how it's designed at its core.
And when you talk of Bitcoin, you mean Bitcoin BTC? So you're not using any other cryptocurrencies in your projects?
Well, I do mean BTC, but we do use other cryptocurrencies as well. We have now built a donation platform called GiveTrack, and GiveTrack has an integration with Uphold. So essentially takes now, I believe, 50 different fiat and cryptocurrencies.
And coming back to the founding idea of BitGive, have you been in this space, like say in funding nonprofits before? How did you come up with the idea to do BitGive, to build BitGive?
Yes, so I did previously have a career in the nonprofit sector, and I worked quite many, like almost 15 years. I worked with nonprofits in California, and largely in the environmental space. So when I learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I immediately married the two, thinking of what the possibilities could be for nonprofits with this kind of technology, and especially around funding, because probably about half of my career or more previously was focused on developing public policies and public funding sources for environmental programs, and that would benefit nonprofits, understanding, how important the work is that they do and how hard it is for them to fund that work. So I immediately made that connection with Bitcoin and how it could help the nonprofit sector.
What were the obstacles before? I mean, I guess you are funding projects in different countries, not only in the US or in Canada, but in worldwide. And I guess then borderless money, which is without friction, is a great benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of things, really. I mean, initially it was a simple concept because we were so early, in understanding the technology. It was a simple concept of knowing that this was going to be a tremendous, like, revolutionary new technology and industry, and to be able to capture and give back some of that, potential growth and success. But it's evolved, of course. It's been almost 7 years, so it's evolved quite a bit. And now that there's much more understanding of the technology and what the capabilities are, we mostly focus on helping nonprofits hands-on, using the technology for exactly that purpose. Like you said, it saves a lot of time. It's much faster to move funding, especially globally. It's much less expensive, and it's more secure. And then we're also, working with the transparency of the blockchain to show donors and the public what happens with their funds, what happens with their donations.
Is it on both sides? I mean, do you get donations in crypto and you also send the funds to the projects in crypto?
Yes. We have essentially a system that on GiveTrack, where donations go directly between the donor and the nonprofits. And that's largely due to a lot of regulatory constraints, mostly in the US. But donations can be taken in like I said, in Bitcoin, but also through Uphold, a number of different cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies. And then everything is converted into Bitcoin so that we have one standard currency, and also so that we can track it on the blockchain. So the charities themselves are holding the funds that they fundraise on GiveTrack in Bitcoin, and then moving them as much as possible on the blockchain to different locations for projects. I'm sure, as you know, there is sort of still quite a bit of work to do in building out a functioning ecosystem where people can actually use Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to purchase things with vendors and merchants. And there's a long way to go as far as that is concerned, especially in developing economies and in remote areas where a lot of nonprofits are doing their work. So oftentimes we are helping them convert the Bitcoin into a local currency so that they can obviously implement the projects that they're working on.
So yeah, you just said it. I guess in most of the projects have to convert the funds then to their local currency to be able to buy stuff. I think I've heard that also from Venezuela. Do you also have projects in Venezuela?
Yes, we do. Yes, and it is quite common to convert it. Obviously because we have really just a long way to go to build out a functioning ecosystem. But yes, in Venezuela, we have 3 campaigns running actually right now on GiveTrack, and they're all with the same NGO called South American Initiative. And they're a US based organization, but they have team members and facilities, and all of their programs and projects are on the ground in Venezuela. So we're fundraising for 3 of their programs on GiveTrack right now. One is for orphans and providing orphanages with food and supplies and medicine. Also for hospitals and patients. And the third is for abandoned pets. It's creating quite a public health issue in addition to just obviously wanting to help the pets themselves.
And do you have how should I say, criteria for choosing those projects? Like on the one hand, children, animals, hospitals. On the other hand, criteria like what the organizational structure has to have. What are your criteria for funding projects or working together with projects?
That's a great question. Especially in this space, it can be kind of interesting in Bitcoin, how a lot of other projects and programs run. But we are very careful to vet every organization that we work with. We only work with NGOs, and that they must be registered in their respective country. And we, manually verify and vet them to make sure that not only are they legit, but that they're in compliance and things like that. We also look to see whether they've been effective in their work and if they have a track record of results so that we can feel comfortable that we'll have a successful partnership. And then we also just generally look for mission fit and things like you said with, our focus is largely in public health, education, environment, things like that. So we want to make sure that, there's a fit as well with our unique audience. So we look for causes that we think will be successful on our platform.
With unique audience, you mean people in the crypto space, like Bitcoiners. Did you see also a time of more funding when, like in 2017, the price of Bitcoin went to 20,000? Did more people donate money then?
Yes, we definitely see, when there's price increases and also decreases, we see the effects of that. And we did have quite a bit of funding come in at that point because the price had skyrocketed. And it was also, the timing was such that, in the US especially, but probably in a lot of other countries, it was at the very, close to the end of the year, which is also the end of the tax year. So the folks who were clued in to, having gains that could be taxable right at the end of the year were very quick to respond to the opportunity to make donations as well. So it was kind of a combination of different things happening all at once, but we definitely saw a fair amount of funding at that time.
What would you say, what are the main obstacles for you to get funds?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, in any nonprofit, it's very challenging. There's an art and a skill to fundraising. It takes a lot of time and focus. There's definitely a unique skill set. And we have a really small team. So sometimes it's a challenge just for those basic things that I think a lot of nonprofits face. But otherwise, I think it's the uniqueness of what we do. It's a certain type of person that will see what we're doing and really get it and be willing to support that. It's a very, forward thinking, pushing the envelope kind of mission that we have.
Are you looking for people from all over the world, or is it only for funders or donors from the US?
No, we're definitely seeking donors from all over. As BitGive ourselves as an entity, we are US based, so we can offer unique tax benefits to US donors. But the platform itself, GiveTrack, has projects from all over the world, NGOs from all over the world. And we're really open to obviously a donor base that is global, and also to expanding beyond just cryptocurrency and Bitcoin donors, but to a mainstream audience as well. There's challenges with onboarding that I think a lot of the industry faces the same challenges. But we definitely see that the technology itself provides a lot of benefits and is a really great use case to demonstrate why this technology is so wonderful and what the benefits are. So we're trying to appeal to a mainstream audience as well.
I mean, I could imagine that your technology, like GiveTrack, is also a technology that's suited for other industries. Or, I mean, for all the projects that have to get money in on one side and get it out in another country, or?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really, our focus is, nonprofits, but the technology itself could be used for a lot of things. And, it's designed in such a way that it's really about, two parties interacting with one another directly and then being able to watch that on a public blockchain and see what happens with the funds, but also the results. What's done with them is seen in reporting and visuals, as well as just seeing movement on a blockchain.
So actually you built a centralized solution that is decentralized without an intermediary.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a centralized solution, I guess, because we're providing it maybe, but yeah, it is it's a platform that we've built, but the interactions are all directly between the donors and the charities. And then as the charities implement their work, if we had more of a widespread functioning ecosystem, we could really be able to show a lot more, of them purchasing things and a lot more of the last mile movements as well on the blockchain. That's where we're headed. That's our ultimate goal.
Yeah, interesting. So you provide both sides of peer-to-peer contract in a way. I mean, you find donors, and on the other side, you, let's say, create NGOs who get the funds. Is that what you do, basically?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We do. And, we do purposely go through NGOs for a lot of reasons, versus just, direct peer-to-peer, because it's very challenging to vet if you were to go to, specific individuals on the receiving side without having some sort of vetting organization or filter in between. So that's why we focus on working with NGOs, especially because we want to have a global reach and impact that, we can't have people on the ground everywhere. I'd love for that someday, but it's also, kind of like recreating the wheel too, if you do that. So we work with NGOs that know very well how to do what they do, and they understand the culture and the environment that they're working in. And we support them in what they're doing already instead of trying to, recreate the wheel. And they're the ones that serve that role in, helping the end recipients through their programs.
You were talking about projects in Venezuela. What were your biggest projects? I mean, big is the question of definition. What is big now? Big in the size of funding, or big in the organizational side? I don't know which example you want to take, but what was for you a rather big project?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think they vary as far as, like you said, we could look at, some that raise the most funds. We could look at the ones that have the most impact. We could look at the largest organizations we worked for or with. And they're all really interesting. I think, our project in Kenya that's now been almost 5 years old now was a really impactful one because it was early on. And it was entirely funded with Bitcoin. And it was a well that went in at a girls' school in a very remote area of Western Kenya. And we were able to go there and actually meet the school officials, the kids, and see the project itself as it was just starting to function. And water was flowing for the first time. And we were able to film all of that. So it's been, I think, one of our most impactful projects because we were able to go there. It was such an early one, and we have a lot of media to share about it. But since then, we've also worked with other organizations like Code to Inspire that is teaching young girls in Afghanistan how to code. That one's a very interesting and exciting project. We actually have an update going out this week about that. And we've had, several projects that have overshot their fundraising goals. So raised 2 times or 1.5 times the amount of money that they needed. So there's lots of different examples, but I think, it's been almost 7 years and probably 20 or more organizations that we've worked with. So there's a lot to share.
But it gives you a good feeling, in the heart. I mean, to be so helpful for communities.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what it's really all about. It's been challenging, and we face a lot of challenges being in a, evolving technology and industry. But when we see the results of these projects and how it's really working and the people are getting, water, food, medicine, education, computers, all kinds of things, it's like, it's why we do all of this. It's very, very uplifting and rewarding.
Have there been any things you learned in these last 7 years that you were not thinking about, like you were surprised by?
Yeah, almost everything. Back in 2013, when I decided to do this, I don't think anybody, especially me, but I don't think anybody really knew where we were headed, where this industry was headed, where this technology was headed. And, I think just starting and running a nonprofit is a huge challenge anyway. But then when you add this emerging technology into the mix and the Wild West sort of culture, it's, to say it's been challenging was a huge understatement. But, it's also been rewarding, like we were just talking about. And it's been a huge learning curve for me. And I've learned in lots of different things in different, sort of categories of learning, about tech, about finance, about global issues, about having impact. It's in every way, it's been a learning experience and a growth experience and really very rewarding.
And you were just mentioning the Wild West. I mean, regulation is said to be, regulate the Wild West. How is that for you? I mean, I guess it's a lot of paperwork and extra work for you.
It is. It is. So there's a couple reasons why, though. I mean, and, just nonprofits themselves have a different sort of extra level of scrutiny and reporting that's required. So we have to do all of that, but also working with cryptocurrency is an interesting new way of doing things. And because we started the organization so early, there wasn't really any guidance or anything out there at the time. And we were the first official nonprofit in the U.S. that received tax-exempt status as a Bitcoin entity, which here is called a 501c3. And so we had to really figure out, like, okay, this is awesome, but how do we meet all of these requirements while using cryptocurrency? And a lot of nonprofits still to this day, because it's so complicated, they will just convert. They take it in as a donation, a different form of donation, but then they immediately convert it into fiat. But we don't do that. We actually hold in mostly Bitcoin. And so that's a whole nother exercise of how to do the accounting and how to do the reporting on the gains and the losses, how to change, your books at the end of each year based on the value of your assets at the time. So yeah, we've pioneered in that space as well. Like how do you even approach a lot of the regulatory and reporting requirements?
But it's a lot of responsibility that you have then. I mean, if I imagine that you hold the funds actually, then you're like an exchange.
Well, actually, we don't in the case of GiveTrack, which is specifically why is the regulatory issues. We can't really, we can't, on behalf of others, we cannot accept, transfer, convert, or hold funds, because it triggers all of the regulations that essentially like a bank would need to meet. And as a nonprofit, of course, we don't want to have to go through all of the licensing and policies and such that banking institutions have to follow. So that's actually why we developed GiveTrack in a way that the donation goes specifically from the donor directly to the nonprofits themselves. But as BitGive, as an institution, we do accept donations ourselves, and we hold those in Bitcoin, but they're for BitGive specifically. They're not on behalf of the NGOs that are on GiveTrack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, yeah, that makes completely sense. Yeah. Yeah, as I told you in one of our emails, I'm going to Zimbabwe and Botswana next month to research the usage of Bitcoin there, because I'm really curious, because we always tend to say it makes sense to use Bitcoin in a hyperinflationary system like in Zimbabwe, but we don't really know if people use it. And I'm a little, how shall I say, I have been to Africa before, but Africa is very big and it's very different in every country. I think you might have a lot of experience in working abroad in other places. What do you think? How could I or should I approach people there and ask them about Bitcoin? Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, first of all, I'm really happy just to hear that you're going there and supportive of that, because I think a lot of other folks should go there and really learn and see for themselves what the possibilities are. And I think that there's way too much focus in the first world on apps and trading platforms and investing. And they're very myopically focused on that. And they don't really have an understanding of other cultures and places and what the needs are there, and how this technology really has, in my opinion, the most potential in developing economies. But, I think that, like you said, it's talked about a lot. I don't know that in practice it's actually happening. And, to go there and to see what is happening is the first step, right? Is to get the reality check on it. And I don't think, a lot of people, especially from the quote unquote Western world, they go to places like different countries in Africa or in Latin America or Asia, thinking that, they have something to teach the people there. And I actually would say that, it's best to be humble, to be open-minded, and to actually go to learn from them. And that they probably have a lot more to teach you than you have to teach them, not necessarily about Bitcoin, but about a lot of things. And, a lot of what the West, quote unquote, has brought to these countries is more, over the history of, over time, is more harm and taking from them And so I think that we actually have a lot of damage to repair, and I don't know that a lot of people approach it from that angle or perspective, but I think it's probably the best approach to take is, being open-minded and going there to learn from them.
Yeah, it's I'm completely of the same opinion. I'm not going there to teach them something, but to listen to them. And I hope I can be like an ambassador, like telling people in the so-called Western world what people there really would need. Because I think we don't even think about the fact that most of them can't afford an internet connection at the moment, or if they have one, it's so slow that they can't do an initial blockchain download. So they can't set up a node because, they can't start. And these are the things I'm trying to find out. And I'm very curious what I will learn and see there.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. And it's absolutely true that, there a lot of times they're just trying to, still find access to the internet after they meet very basic human needs first, So there's definitely a lot of possibilities, but I think it's largely about exposure to what's possible and education and training, and getting some of those really basic building blocks in place first, is I think mostly where it's at. I mean, I haven't traveled very, broadly, especially in Africa. I've really only been to Kenya and South Africa. But, I know you mentioned Botswana, and I know Ala Kanani. She's a dear friend and an absolute inspiration. I've known her since probably 2013. And she really actually keeps me going sometimes. She's so inspiring. She's doing a lot of amazing work there. And I've learned a bit from her experiences and what the challenges that she's faced there. And it's really, for her, it's about building, the Satoshi Center, and it's about providing a place for people to learn and be exposed and to educate them about what's possible with this technology.
Yeah, I am going to visit her too. And we're going to have a Bitcoin meetup on the 29th of February, I think. And it will be very interesting to learn from her and to talk with her. And I think we might try to set up a Bitcoin and Lightning node there. And I guess that will be fun. And I'm definitely also going to interview her. But now that I know that you know her, I can say hello to her too.
Yes. Oh my gosh. She's incredible. She really is. I'm jealous that you're getting to go there. I've never been to Botswana. I finally met her in person for the first time, actually in Cape Town last fall. And I had known her all these years, but only online. So it was probably honestly, one of the top highlights of my entire time in Bitcoin was finally getting to meet her in person and really we got to spend some quality time together. And it was just so incredibly special and dear to me. So I'm very jealous. I wish I could go with you to Botswana, but yeah, definitely give her a big hug for me.
Will do. So now I'm extra looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be an incredible experience, I'm sure.
Fine. So what are the current projects you are working on?
Well, we have quite a bit happening behind the scenes right now. We have the public projects that I mentioned earlier in Venezuela that we're fundraising for. And then we have a number of other projects that have finished their fundraising phase but are under implementation. So we're working with them to help them use Bitcoin or convert Bitcoin and then report back out on GiveTrack as to what the results are of the different projects that they're working on. We have just today put out an update from our partner Run for Water that has a project in Ethiopia that they in part funded on GiveTrack. And we have more coming from Code to Inspire, who I mentioned earlier, and has a coding school in Afghanistan. We have projects in Chile. I mean, all of them are are starting to really have, report outs on the results. So that's exciting. And then we have behind the scenes always a lot of technical improvements underway. So there's our team of developers are all focusing on that and making the platform better all the time. And we're also working on lining up more projects for, we hope in March to be first releasing an update to the platform to the Bitcoin wallet. And in conjunction with that, launching a bunch of new projects with NGOs. So we have a bunch we're working with now kind of behind the scenes to get them ready.
Sounds like a lot of things to do in 2020.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're also growing our team. We just added 3 new members to our board. We've added 2 new members to our team, and we're looking for another. So we have a lot going on for sure.
That's great. And where can people find you and your project?
That's a great question. They can find BitGive at bitgivefoundation.org, and we're also on all social media. And then our donation platform with all the different NGOs who are fundraising is givetrack.org. And we'd love to have folks come and check us out. We also have a newsletter you can sign up for. We're very respectful. We don't send out a lot of newsletters. We wait until we have exciting things to share. So there's lots of different ways to follow our work and learn more.
Great. Then I have a last question, which is always one of my last questions. That is, do you have any recommendations like books to read or videos to watch or websites to look at for newbies to learn about Bitcoin and open blockchains?
Well, I'm sure most people will say what I'm going to say, which is Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yeah, that's true.
He is absolutely rises to the top of best educators in the space, both from a practical, sort of on the ground standpoint, but also from a technical standpoint, depending on, what folks are looking for. And he has lots and lots of talks online and even classes that he's done, but also several books. And I think you actually you translated one of his books into German, right?
Yeah, I was in the team of the first 2 volumes, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so you know him very well then, and he's wonderful. And I think aside from that, our angle on it is the nonprofit space, and the Charities Aid Foundation, which is based out of the UK, had several years ago put out a whole series of papers around the nonprofit and philanthropy space with Bitcoin and blockchain. So that would be another one I would suggest.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's something new. I've never heard about it, so I'm definitely looking into it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think we have them all on our website under the Get Involved page.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will take a look. So we're coming to an end. Thank you very much. Is there anything left that you want to tell our listeners?
No, I think I would just say thank you. I really appreciate, coming on your show, and I'm super excited about your travels, and I can't wait to hear your episodes from your experiences in Africa.
Thank you very much. And I hope I won't forget to take a picture of Alakanani and me and send it to you.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would love that.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Safe travels.
If you liked my show, please subscribe to it in your podcast player and share the episode on social media. You can find all links that were mentioned in the show notes on the website or in your podcast player. You can contact me also on Twitter, LinkedIn or YouTube. Goodbye from Vienna, auf Wiederhören. Music, start with Yes, Delicate Beats. Idea, content and production, yours truly, Anita Posch.